The Cambridge Academy of Vocal Arts stood majestically against the crisp Boston autumn sky, its historic brick exterior radiating prestige and exclusivity. Inside, nervous energy filled the audition hall as aspiring vocal instructors prepared to demonstrate their talents before the Academy's selection committee and a small group of student observers. Emma Reynolds slipped through the heavy wooden doors, her auburn hair neatly pinned back, wearing a simple grey dress that hung loosely on her slender frame. Unlike the other candidates in their tailored outfits and designer accessories, Emma carried only a worn leather folder containing her sheet music. Her face, free of makeup save for a touch of lip balm, betrayed nothing of her nerves as her blue eyes scanned the room. "Name, please?" asked the administrative assistant, barely looking up from her clipboard. "Emma Reynolds," she replied softly. The assistant's pen hovered over the list. "I don't see her. Oh, here you are. Last-minute addition." Her tone suggested this was hardly impressive. "Take a seat with the other candidates. Dr. Harmon will call you when it's your turn." Emma nodded and made her way to the back row of chairs, acutely aware of the sideways glances from the other applicants. Their whispers weren't quite quiet enough. Who's she supposed to be? Probably applied for the janitorial position and got the wrong room. Does she even know what the Cambridge Academy is? Emma kept her expression neutral as she settled into her chair. She'd expected this reaction. It was precisely why she'd come dressed this way, with no resume preceding her. After years of being lauded as the voice of her generation and America's newest opera sensation, she craved something genuine. A position earned on merit alone, not reputation. At the front of the room, Dr. Richard Harmon, the Academy's veteran vocal director, sat behind a grand piano, his silver hair and impeccable dark suit projecting authority. Behind him, a blackboard displayed opera solo auditions today in precise chalk lettering. Next to him sat two other committee members, and off to the side, a small group of students, the Academy's young proteges permitted to observe the selection of their potential new instructor. "Vanessa Cartwright," Dr. Harmon called. A tall woman in an elegant black dress approached confidently, her resume extending before her like a shield. "Good morning, Dr. Harmon. I've prepared Puccini's O mio babbino caro and—" Yes, he interrupted, scanning her credentials. "Eastman School of Music, 5 years with the Chicago Lyric Opera. Impressive. Let's hear what you've got." As Vanessa sang, Emma observed Dr. Harmon's reactions, the subtle nods, the occasional note-taking. He was fair but demanding, stopping another candidate mid-area to correct a breath technique. "Your diaphragmatic support is inconsistent. This is basic technique, Mr. Peterson. Next." Each candidate brought impressive credentials, degrees from Juilliard, performances with major companies, international competition medals. With each introduction, Emma felt the weight of her decision to come incognito grow heavier. She had stripped away all external indicators of her accomplishments, bringing nothing but her voice and knowledge. The young students in the corner whispered among themselves, clearly recognizing names and achievements. One girl with dark braids pointed excitedly when a former Metropolitan Opera performer took the floor. As the morning progressed, the pile of resumes on Dr. Harmon's desk grew, each representing years of formal training and professional recognition. Emma's hand instinctively touched her folder, which contained only sheet music. No list of accolades, no press clippings, no glowing recommendations from renowned conductors. A young student with auburn hair, not unlike Emma's own, caught her eye and offered a small, encouraging smile. The girl couldn't have been more than 16, but there was something in her expression, a genuine love for music perhaps, that reminded Emma exactly why she was here. "Emma Reynolds," Dr. Harmon finally called, checking his watch with barely concealed impatience. Emma stood, smoothed a simple dress, and walked toward the piano with quiet confidence. The moment of truth had arrived. With each step, She left behind the trappings of fame and success that had defined her public persona for years. Today, she would be judged solely on what she brought into that room: her voice, her technique, her passion for the art form. The committee members exchanged glances as she approached, clearly unimpressed by her appearance. Little did they know that the woman in the simple grey dress had performed for presidents and royalty, had brought audiences to tears at the Metropolitan Opera, and had 3 Grammy Awards sitting on her mantel at home. Emma took her position by the piano, meeting Dr. Harmon's evaluative gaze with calm dignity. The true test was about to begin. Emma stood before Dr. Harmon, her posture relaxed yet proper, the result of years of training now appearing as natural ease. She offered a small smile, which the committee did not return. "Your resume, Miss Reynolds?" Dr. Harmon extended his hand expectantly. "I haven't brought one, sir. I'd prefer to be evaluated solely on what I demonstrate today." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. Dr. Harmon's eyebrows shot up, disappearing beneath his silver hairline. "I see," he said, drawing out the words. "How unconventional. And where did you study, Miss Reynolds?" "Here and there," Emma replied vaguely. It wasn't a lie. She had studied at Curtis Institute before her meteoric rise, followed by private coaching with masters across Europe. Dr. Harmon exchanged glances with his colleagues. The woman to his right, Dr. Abernathy, didn't bother hiding her disdain. "This is the Cambridge Academy, not a community talent show," she muttered just loud enough for Emma to hear. "Perhaps you're unaware," Dr. Harmon continued, folding his hands on top of the piano, "but we're selecting instructors for exceptionally gifted students. Our faculty must have impeccable credentials and experience." The students in the corner watched with wide eyes. One boy whispered to his friend, receiving a sharp stare from the chaperone. "I understand," Emma said. "I believe I can offer valuable instruction regardless." Dr. Harmon's mouth twitched. "And what will you perform for us today?" Emma carefully placed her sheet music on the piano stand. "I'd like to perform H Falls from Mozart's The Magic Flute, Pamina's aria." Dr. Harmon sniffed. "Rather safe, isn't it? A student piece." Emma held his gaze. "It's emotionally complex." "Indeed," he said, clearly unimpressed. His fingers hovered over the keys, then he abruptly closed her music. "Actually, I think not." Emma blinked, the only sign of her surprise. "If you wish to instruct at this academy, Miss Reynolds," Dr. Harmon continued, a challenging glint in his eye, "you should demonstrate true technical mastery." He reached into his own folder and extracted sheet music, placing it deliberately before her. "This would be more appropriate." Emma glanced down at the score and felt her heart skip. Der Hull Wretch, the queen of the night's second aria, notorious for its difficulty, requiring precision, range, and extraordinary breath control. "Unless, of course, it's beyond your capabilities," Dr. Harmon added, his tone making it clear he expected her to back down. Behind him, one of the committee members shifted uncomfortably. "Richard, that's hardly fair for an audition piece without preparation." "On the contrary," Dr. Harmon interrupted. "Any qualified vocal instructor should be able to handle standard repertoire. Our students certainly are expected to rise to challenges." The students watched with a mixture of discomfort and fascination. One girl with glasses whispered, "That's the hardest area in the soprano repertoire." Emma absorbed the tension in the room, the expectation of her failure hanging palpably in the air. She recognized this moment for what it was, not just a challenge, but an attempt to publicly humiliate her for her presumption in applying without credentials. Dr. Harmon smiled thinly. "Well, Miss Reynolds, shall we proceed, or would you prefer something more attainable?" Emma took a slow, scented breath, the kind she perfected during countless performances on the world's greatest stages. She'd sung this aria hundreds of times, at the Metropolitan Opera, at La Scala in Milan, at the Vienna State Opera. She'd recorded it for her Grammy-winning album 3 years ago. "This will be fine, thank you," she said, meeting his gaze with newfound determination. Dr. Harmon's smile faltered slightly at her confidence. He turned to the keys, fingers poised. From the beginning then, as the distinctive, ominous introduction began, Emma closed her eyes briefly, centering herself. Around her, the room grew still with anticipation, some eager to witness her failure, others anxious on her behalf, none suspecting what was about to unfold. The auburn-haired student leaned forward, her expression betraying concern for the seemingly unprepared candidate. The other committee members watched with what appeared to be second-hand embarrassment, already planning how to politely dismiss this presumptuous applicant after her inevitable struggle with the notoriously difficult piece. Dr. Harmon played with unnecessary flourish, perhaps emphasizing the complexity of what Emma was about to attempt. His fingers danced over the keys with practiced precision, laying a trap he believed no unprepared singer could possibly navigate successfully. Emma stood tall, her breathing deepening imperceptibly as she prepared for her moment. The last notes of the introduction hung in the air, the silence that followed electric with anticipation. The time had come to either retreat in humiliation or step into her truth. As Dr. Harmon's fingers danced across the keys, Emma felt a momentary wave of doubt wash over her. Not about her ability to perform, she knew this area intimately, but about her plan. Was it deceptive to hide her identity? Would revealing her true self this way seem like a publicity stunt rather than a genuine pursuit? The introduction neared its conclusion, leaving her only seconds to decide. She glanced at the students watching from the side of the room, young, hopeful faces. Some leaned forward with concern, others whispered behind cupped hands. She thought of her own journey, how different it might have been with mentors who valued pure talent over connections and appearances. The final introductory notes hung in the air. It was time. Emma straightened her shoulders, her posture subtly transforming as muscle memory took over. Her ribcage expanded with a proper singer's breath. Deep, controlled, invisible to the untrained eye, but immediately recognizable to professionals. Dr. Harmon noticed. His fingers faltered almost imperceptibly on the keys, but he continued playing, a slight furrow appearing between his brows. Emma's decision crystallized. She would sing not as Emma Reynolds, the incognito applicant, nor as Emma Reynolds, the opera star, but simply as a musician who loved this art form enough to teach it with integrity. The first coloratura passage approached, a series of runs that separated skilled sopranos from truly exceptional ones. Around her, the atmosphere in the room shifted from dismissive to attentive. Dr. Abernathy leaned forward slightly. The students had stopped whispering. Emma took a measured breath, engaging her diaphragm fully. The technique was so ingrained that it required no conscious thought, leaving her mind free to focus on expression, on the character's rage and determination, emotions that now mirrored her own. As she prepared to sing, Emma caught the eye of one student, a girl of perhaps 15 with auburn hair not unlike her own, watching with undisguised hope. The girl offered a tiny, encouraging smile. That smile sealed Emma's decision. The first note emerged from her lips, perfectly pitched and controlled. Emma held back, not yet revealing her full capacity. Even so, the note rang clear and true, filling the audition hall with unexpected resonance. Dr. Harmon's head snapped up, his fingers continuing mechanically while his eyes fixed on Emma with new interest. The committee members exchanged glances. Emma approached the first difficult run, still restraining herself, though her technique remained flawless. She could feel the atmosphere in the room changing, confusion replacing condescension, curiosity replacing dismissal. The young students sat transfixed, some with mouths slightly open. The girl with the encouraging smile now leaned forward, her expression one of wonder. As Emma progressed through the area, she made a split-second decision. For the next passage, one of the most challenging in all of opera, she would no longer hold back. She would sing as she did on the world's greatest stages. She met Dr. Harmon's increasingly bewildered gaze directly as she took a deeper breath. His fingers moved mechanically over the keys, his shock evident in his widened eyes and the rigid set of his shoulders. The moment stretched between them. Teacher and supposed student, evaluator and candidate. Man who had intended humiliation and woman about to turn the tables. A ghost of a smile touched Emma's lips before she launched into the infamous high F passage with the precision and power that had made critics call her once in a generation. The note soared, crystalline and effortless, filling every corner of the room with its perfect resonance. Several people audibly gasped. Dr. Abernathy dropped her pen. One of the students whispered an awestruck, "Oh my God." Dr. Harmon's fingers stumbled on the keys, but Emma continued, no longer needing the accompaniment, her voice carrying the aria forward with undeniable mastery. The decision had been made. There was no turning back now. The young auburn-haired student's eyes had grown wide, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, as if witnessing something miraculous. The other candidates, who moments ago had dismissed Emma, now watched with expressions ranging from shock to dawning recognition. Dr. Harmon's hands had nearly frozen over the piano keys, his face a study in conflicting emotions, disbelief, confusion, and the slow, uncomfortable realization that he had gravely misjudged the woman standing before him, whose voice now filled the audition hall with a level of artistry few had ever witnessed in person. The transformation was complete. No longer the humble applicant in the simple gray dress, Emma Reynolds now commanded the room with the presence of the international star she truly was. Emma's voice soared through the hall with breathtaking clarity, each note pristine and powerful. The famous staccato coloratura passage, a notorious challenge that had defeated countless sopranos, flowed from her with effortless precision. Each high F pierced the air like a perfectly aimed arrow, holding steady without the slightest waver. Dr. Harmon's accompaniment grew increasingly unsteady as his attention divided between the keys and the extraordinary performance unfolding before him. His earlier smugness had vanished, replaced by unconcealed astonishment. The room had fallen into stunned silence, interrupted only by occasional gasps when Emma executed particularly difficult passages with supernatural ease. Even the other candidates, who moments ago had dismissed her, now watched with a mixture of admiration and dawning recognition. "That technique," one whispered. "The breath control. Wait, isn't she?" Another began, leaving the question hanging. Emma had entered what performers called the zone, that transcendent mental state where technical concerns faded and pure artistic expression took over. Her hands, previously clasped modestly before her, now moved subtly with the music. Her posture had transformed, her presence expanding to fill the space as naturally as her voice did. As she approached the aria's climactic passage, Emma locked eyes with Dr. Harmon. His fingers trembled visibly on the keys. She took a deeper breath, the kind that signaled to experienced musicians that something extraordinary was coming, and launched into the final sequence of coloratura runs with a level of virtuosity that left no doubt about her true identity. The young piano accompanist sitting in the corner suddenly sat straight up, recognition dawning on his face. "That's Emma Reynolds," he exclaimed, unable to contain himself. "That's her signature cadenza." A ripple of shocked murmurs spread through the room. Dr. Abernathy's hand flew to her mouth. The students began whispering excitedly among themselves, several pulling out phones to confirm their suspicions. Dr. Harmon's hands froze above the keys, but Emma didn't falter. She completed the aria unaccompanied, her voice soaring through the final passages with the control and expression that had earned her standing ovations at the Metropolitan Opera. The final note hung in the air, perfect and pristine, before fading into profound silence. For several seconds, no one moved. Then, from the student section, the auburn-haired girl who'd smiled at Emma earlier burst into spontaneous applause. The other students immediately joined, rising to their feet. The candidates followed, then the committee members, all except Dr. Harmon, who remained seated at the piano, his expression unreadable. Emma stood quietly, accepting the ovation with a simple nod. She had not come for adulation. As the applause continued, the young piano accompanist approached Emma, holding out a program from the previous season's Metropolitan Opera Gala. "Miss Reynolds," he said, voice trembling with excitement, "I was at your Lucia de l'Amour last year. Would you mind?" Before she could respond, Dr. Abernathy rushed forward, practically pushing the young man aside. "Miss Reynolds, we had no idea. Your application gave no indication." She glanced accusingly at Dr. Harmon, who still hadn't moved from the piano bench. Emma smiled gently. "That was intentional, Dr. Abernathy. I wanted to be evaluated on my current abilities, not my reputation." Dr. Harmon finally stood, his complexion notably paler than before. He approached Emma with measured steps, stopping a respectful distance away. "That was," he began, then paused, struggling for words. "Technically flawless. But I must ask, why the charade? Why come to us as this?" He gestured at her simple attire. The room fell silent again, all eyes on Emma, as she prepared to answer the question that hung in the air. Why would an internationally acclaimed opera star disguise herself as an ordinary applicant for a teaching position? Emma took a moment, considering her response carefully. Around her, the atmosphere had completely transformed. The students watched her with awe and fascination. The committee members stood awkwardly, clearly reassessing everything they thought they knew about judging talent. The other candidates displayed a mixture of admiration and discomfort, perhaps reflecting on their own earlier dismissive attitudes. Dr. Harmon waited, his authoritative demeanor now tempered with uncertainty. The power dynamic had shifted entirely, and everyone in the room knew it. Whatever Emma's answer would be, it was clear that this moment had already changed something fundamental at the Cambridge Academy of Vocal Arts. "It wasn't a charade, Dr. Harmon," Emma said, her voice now carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to being heard. "It was an experiment, one that proved rather illuminating." The room remained utterly silent, hanging on her every word. Even the students had stopped fidgeting, their young faces rapt with attention. "3 years ago, I stood on the stage at La Scala," Emma continued. "Last year, I sang for the president at Kennedy Center. But before all that," she gestured around the room, "I was a student, just like them." She nodded toward the young observers. "I know what it means to be judged on appearance rather than ability." Dr. Harmon cleared his throat. "Ms. Reynolds, surely you understand that credentials and experience are relevant considerations for a teaching position." "Of course," Emma interrupted gently. "But you didn't reject me for lack of credentials, Dr. Harmon. You never asked for them. You judged me the moment I walked through that door in this dress." Color flooded his face. "That's not. You assigned me an impossible area as a punishment for my presumption," she continued, her tone matter-of-fact rather than accusatory. "Not to evaluate my ability, but to humiliate me in front of everyone." The uncomfortable truth hung in the air. Several committee members shifted in their seats, unable to meet Emma's gaze. "If I had walked in wearing designer clothes, with my Grammy in hand and the New York Times calling me the voice of a generation, would you have treated me the same way?" she asked. Dr. Harmon had no answer. "That," Emma said, turning to face the students, "is exactly the problem I hope to address by teaching here. Talent doesn't care about appearances. Music doesn't care about pedigree. But too often, the people who guard the gates to musical education do." The auburn-haired student suddenly spoke up. "Is that why you're here? To teach us?" Emma smiled warmly at her. "I want to teach because I remember what it was like to be you. Passionate about music, but uncertain about belonging in this world. I've had every advantage now, but I never forgot how it feels to be dismissed." Dr. Abernathy stepped forward, practically gloating with the opportunity to salvage the situation. "Ms. Reynolds, please accept our sincere apologies for this misunderstanding. We would be honored to have someone of your caliber join our faculty. In fact, We could offer you the department chair position. That's very kind, Emma said. But I didn't apply for department chair. I applied to teach the introductory voice classes, the ones for scholarship students who come from backgrounds without private tutors and European summer programs. A murmur rippled through the committee members. Those classes were typically assigned to junior faculty or graduate assistants, not world-renowned sopranos. But surely, Dr. Harmon found his voice. Someone with your talent would prefer advanced students. Emma's gaze was steady. Everyone deserves a teacher who believes in their potential, Dr. Harmon. Especially beginners. From the corner, the piano accompanist, who had recognized her, spoke up. Ms. Reynolds has been running a free voice program in underserved Boston schools for the past year without publicity. My sister teaches elementary school there. All eyes turned back to Emma, seeing her anew. Not just a famous soprano in plain clothes, but someone whose actions matched her words. Dr. Harmon's expression had transformed from shock to something more complex. A mixture of embarrassment, respect, and genuine regret. Ms. Reynolds, he said finally, his voice quieter than before. Would you be willing to reconsider your application? Not as a publicity stunt for the Academy, but perhaps as a lesson for all of us, myself included. Emma studied him, searching for sincerity. That would depend, Dr. Harmon, she said carefully, on whether you're willing to reconsider how you evaluate all applicants, not just the famous ones. The students watched with rapt attention, witnessing not just an extraordinary vocal performance, but a profound challenge to the system they were part of. The auburn-haired girl's eyes shone with something that looked like hope. One of the committee members, a woman who had been silent throughout the proceedings, spoke up. Perhaps we should consider implementing blind auditions for the first round, as many orchestras now do. Dr. Abernathy nodded enthusiastically. And reviewing our scholarship criteria, talent doesn't always come packaged with privilege. Emma observed as the seeds of change began to take root before her eyes. This was why she had come, not to embarrass anyone, not to secure a prestigious position, but to open a door for those who might follow. For students like the auburn-haired girl who was still watching her with undisguised admiration. Dr. Harmon extended his hand. Ms. Reynolds, would you be willing to help us learn from this revelatory experience? 3 months later, Emma stood in classroom 3 of the Cambridge Academy of Vocal Arts, watching as her students practiced breathing exercises. The walls were adorned with portraits of opera legends, including, somewhat embarrassingly to Emma, one of herself, but also newer additions, photographs of diverse performers from non-traditional backgrounds who had made significant contributions to classical vocal music. A knock at the door interrupted the lesson. Dr. Harmon stood in the doorway, his demeanor markedly different from their first encounter, less imperious, more collegial. May I observe for a moment, Professor Reynolds? He asked. Emma nodded, gesturing for him to enter. We're just finishing breath support techniques. Perhaps you'd like to demonstrate the contrast between clavicular and diaphragmatic breathing, Dr. Harmon. He smiled at the invitation. I believe your demonstration would be far more effective. As Emma showed her students the proper technique, Dr. Harmon watched with genuine interest. The Academy had changed subtly but significantly since that fateful audition day. The application process now included blind auditions for the first round. The scholarship program had been expanded, with Emma's foundation matching the school's funds dollar for dollar. When the students were dismissed, Dr. Harmon approached Emma's desk. The board meeting went well, he said. Your proposal for the summer outreach program was approved unanimously. I'm glad to hear it, Emma replied, gathering her music sheets. Those students deserve the opportunity. Dr. Harmon hesitated, then spoke in a more personal tone. I want you to know I've been reflecting considerably on our first encounter. My behavior was, he trailed off, searching for the right word. Human, Emma offered. We all make judgments based on appearances. The question is whether we're willing to recognize and correct them. He nodded slowly. I've spent 40 years teaching technique, theory, and repertoire. But you've taught me something far more valuable these past months.
He gestured toward the departing students. The way they respond to you, it's not because of your fame or your awards. It's because you see them. We see them. Emma smiled. That's the greatest gift a teacher can offer. As they walked toward the faculty lounge, they passed the audition hall. The piano still stood in the same spot, but beside it now was a new sign. Talent has no uniform. Your suggestion, Dr. Harmon acknowledged, following her gaze. It serves as a daily reminder for all of us. The auburn-haired student from the audition day, now Emma's most promising pupil, approached them in the hallway, clutching sheet music. Professor Reynolds, I've been practicing that Puccini piece, but the high passage is still giving me trouble. We'll work on it tomorrow, Sarah, Emma assured her. Remember, even the most difficult passages yield to patience and proper technique. As Sarah nodded and hurried off, Dr. Harmon turned to Emma. You know, the Academy is hosting the Governor's Arts Gala next month. We were hoping you might perform. Emma raised an eyebrow. As the famous soprano or as the humble teacher? Dr. Harmon chuckled. As yourself, Emma Reynolds, who has proven to be remarkable in both roles. He paused. And perhaps, if you're willing, we could announce the new Emma Reynolds Scholarship for students from non-traditional backgrounds. Emma considered his words. I'd be honored, Richard, but on one condition.
Name it. That the judges for that scholarship never see the applicants' clothes, backgrounds, or anything else irrelevant to their potential, only their passion and their voice. Dr. Harmon extended his hand. I believe we can make that promise, and keep it. Later that afternoon, Emma sat in her office reviewing applications for the next semester's scholarship students. A photograph on her desk showed her in full costume at the Metropolitan Opera. But beside it stood another. Emma with her first class at the Academy, all in simple practice clothes, their faces alight with the joy of music. A gentle knock sounded at her door. Sarah, the auburn-haired student, peeked in. Professor Reynolds? I hope I'm not disturbing you. I just wanted to say, thank you. For the breathing techniques? Emma asked with a smile. Sarah shook her head. For showing us that it's our voice that matters, not how we look or where we come from. She hesitated. Before you came, I was thinking about quitting. I didn't think someone like me belonged here. Emma gestured for Sarah to sit. And now? Now I know I do, Sarah said with newfound confidence. And I want to help others know that too, just like you do. Emma smiled, recognizing in this young woman the same determination she had once felt. The cycle was continuing, exactly as she had hoped. One voice at a time, the world of classical music was opening its doors a little wider. The night of the Governor's Arts Gala arrived with all the pageantry expected of Boston's premier cultural event. Crystal chandeliers glittered above the Cambridge Academy's transformed Grand Hall. Distinguished guests in evening wear mingled with donors, politicians, and arts patrons. Behind the scenes, Emma helped her students prepare for their performance in the opening showcase. A bold departure from tradition, as scholarship students had never been featured at the gala before. Remember, you've earned your place here, Emma told them as they adjusted their simple but elegant black attire. Another break from convention, replacing the elaborate costumes usually worn at such events. Tonight isn't about appearances, it's about the music. Sarah, wearing her hair in a neat bun, looked nervous but determined. What if someone important doesn't think we're good enough? Then show them how wrong they are, Emma replied with a gentle smile. Just like I did. The story of Emma's unconventional audition had become something of a legend at the Academy. Students now spoke of it with a mixture of awe and inspiration, a reminder that true talent could overcome preconceptions. Dr. Harmon appeared at the door, elegant in his tuxedo. 5 minutes, everyone. He caught Emma's eye. The governor has arrived, along with several major donors. The board is somewhat anxious about our program changes. Emma nodded. They won't be for long. The lights dimmed, and Dr. Harmon took the stage to welcome the audience. Tonight represents not just a celebration of the arts, but a renewal of our commitment to nurturing talent in all its forms, he began. The Cambridge Academy has been privileged to add to our faculty one of the world's most acclaimed sopranos, who has challenged us to see beyond the surface and recognize potential wherever it exists. Emma, standing in the wings, felt a surge of pride as her students prepared to take the stage. Our opening performance features students from our expanded scholarship program, followed by their instructor, Emma Reynolds, who will demonstrate why she remains one of the most celebrated voices of our time. The students file onto the stage, their posture reflecting Emma's training, their faces showing a confidence many hadn't possessed months before. As they began to sing, a challenging arrangement specifically chosen to showcase their technical progress, Emma watched the audience's reaction transform from polite interest to genuine appreciation. Sarah's solo section silenced the hall, her pure tone carrying to the rafters. The girl who had once doubted she belonged now commanded the attention of everyone present. When the students finished, the applause was immediate and enthusiastic, with several audience members rising to their feet. As Emma took the stage for her solo performance, she wore not an elaborate gown, but a simple black dress, elegant but understated, much like the one she'd worn to her audition. The symbolism wasn't lost on the Academy staff seated in the front row. Her performance of Visidart from Puccini's Tosca, a piece about artistic integrity and sacrifice, resonated through the hall. Emma sang not just with technical perfection, but with an emotional depth that brought tears to many eyes. She wasn't just performing, she was communicating something essential about art and authenticity. After thunderous applause, Dr. Harmon joined Emma on stage, along with the governor and the Academy's board chair. "It is my great pleasure," the governor announced, "to help launch the Emma Reynolds Scholarship Fund for Exceptional Talent. This program will identify promising students from underrepresented backgrounds and provide them with full tuition and support at the Cambridge Academy." The board chair stepped forward. Additionally, the Academy is proud to announce our new evaluation process for all applicants, one that prioritizes ability over background, potential over pedigree, and passion over polish. Emma stepped to the microphone. "True talent often comes in unexpected packages," she said, her voice carrying without effort. "As artists and educators, our responsibility is to recognize and nurture that talent, regardless of how it presents itself. Music belongs to everyone, not just those who can afford private lessons or know which fork to use at dinner." Later that evening, as donors committed unprecedented sums to the new scholarship fund, Emma found Sarah standing by a display of historical Academy photographs, all featuring students of similar privileged backgrounds. "Next year," Emma said, joining her, "this wall will look different." Sarah smiled. "Because of you," Emma shook her head. "Because the world is finally ready to hear all voices, not just the ones it expects." Across the room, Dr. Harmon was explaining the Academy's new blind audition process to a group of intrigued board members. "It's revolutionized our thinking," he admitted. "We've already discovered remarkable talents we might have overlooked before." The transformation was well underway, not just at the Academy, but in how classical music education approached accessibility and inclusion. What had begun with one woman in a simple grey dress had become a movement. 1 year later, Emma stood at the back of the audition hall, observing rather than participating. The room buzzed with nervous energy as prospective students prepared to demonstrate their talents before a screen that concealed them from the selection committee. "Professor Reynolds, they're ready for you now," a student assistant whispered. Emma nodded, taking her place with the other faculty judges. Dr. Harmon, now serving his final year before retirement, sat beside her. "Hard to believe it's been a year," he remarked quietly as they settled behind the partition that prevented them from seeing the auditioning students. "Sometimes the most important changes happen faster than we expect," Emma replied, arranging her scoring sheets. The first applicant entered, footsteps echoing in the suddenly quiet hall. Please state your number, not your name, Dr. Harmon instructed, following the new protocol. Candidate 17, came the reply, a young voice with a slight tremor of nerves. Whenever you're ready, Emma encouraged. What followed was a rendition of Caro Mio Ben that, while technically imperfect, carried genuine emotional depth. The committee members made notes without exchanging glances or whispers. Only after the performance ended and the candidate departed did they discuss what they'd heard. This process continued throughout the day, voices evaluated solely on their merits, backgrounds revealed only after decisions had been made. By late afternoon, the committee had selected 12 new scholarship students, representing a diversity of backgrounds unprecedented in the Academy's history. As they reviewed the final paperwork, Emma came across a familiar name, Michael Harmon. Your grandson? She asked, looking at Dr. Harmon with surprise. He nodded. He didn't mention our relationship in his application. Wanted to earn his place fairly. There was unmistakable pride in his voice, but also something else, understanding. Would you have recommended him if you'd known during the audition? Emma asked gently. Dr. Harmon considered the question. A year ago, without question. Today, I'd have recused myself. He smiled ruefully. You've changed more than just our policies, Emma. Later that evening, at the welcome reception for new students, Emma watched as teenagers from every imaginable background mingled together, united by their shared passion for music. Sarah, now a junior student and peer mentor, moved confidently among them, helping the newcomers feel at home. Sometimes I still can't believe I'm here, said a voice beside Emma. She turned to find Michael Harmon, Dr. Harmon's grandson, watching the gathering with wonder in his eyes. Your audition earned you this place, Emma assured him. That's not what I mean, he replied. My grandfather told me about your first day here, how you changed everything. Before that, I wouldn't have applied. Not after my father lost his job, and we had to move to East Boston. He hesitated. I thought places like this weren't for people like me anymore. Emma felt a wave of emotion at this unexpected revelation. And now I understand it's not about where you come from, but where your voice can take you. Across the room, Dr. Harmon was deep in conversation with a donor, gesturing toward a wall that now displayed photographs of diverse Academy students and faculty throughout the years. Among them was a new addition, Emma in her simple grey dress from that fateful audition day, captured by a student's phone camera just as she prepared to sing. The Academy's marketing director approached Emma with a tablet. The new website launch is tomorrow. I wanted to show you the homepage one last time before it goes live. Emma glanced at the screen and smiled. The banner read, Cambridge Academy of Vocal Arts, where every voice deserves to be heard. Below it was a quote, true talent often comes in unexpected packages. Our responsibility is to recognize it, regardless of how it presents itself. That evening, as Emma prepared to leave, she paused by the audition piano where her journey at the Academy had begun. Dr. Harmon approached, carrying a small gift box. The faculty wanted you to have this, he said, offering it to her. Inside was a simple silver pin bearing the Academy's crest, now modified to include musical notes breaking free from their confining staff lines. It's our new symbol, he explained. A reminder that music cannot be contained by tradition alone. Emma pinned it to her lapel. It's perfect. As they walked together toward the exit, Dr. Harmon asked, Any regrets? About that day, I mean. Emma considered the question, thinking of all that had followed from her decision to audition incognito. The students whose lives had changed, the institution that had transformed, the ripple effects spreading to other music schools now adopting similar approaches. Not one, she replied with certainty. Outside, dusk was falling. A new group of students was practicing in the courtyard, their voices blending in harmonies that would have been impossible a year ago. Different backgrounds, different training, different experiences coming together to create something beautiful and new. Emma paused to listen. This, she thought, was her true achievement, not the standing ovations at world-famous opera houses, but these voices that might otherwise have remained unheard. One voice, rising above the others momentarily, carried a phrase of pure, perfect tone. Emma smiled in recognition. It didn't matter what the singer looked like, where they came from, or what they wore. The only thing that mattered was the music. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and become a part of our Everyday Life Stories community. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below. We love hearing from our amazing viewers around the world.